Thank you, Mac. Just really excited to be with everybody today. We've got a ton of new people on the call. Just really excited to go through this with you. What we want to do is just start off on the presentation. Those of you who have seen a lot of this, just hang with us. There's some new stuff in it. But those of you that are new to this, I think what we're doing is we're going to get into the nitty-gritty on the program. This is the meat and the potatoes. This is what we're all about, and what our strategy is, and what's going on. So real quick, let's just kind of jump into this. We've got 4 strategies with the Worth account. First is accelerated mortgage payoff, strategic debt payoff, wealth accumulation, coaching and education. We're going to kind of go through these one by one up until the wealth accumulation. And we're not going to cover all of wealth accumulation tonight, but we're going to cover just a brief taste of it. So jumping into this, first off, what we want to do is talk to you a little bit about a mortgage amortization loan and the difference between an amortized loan and a simple interest loan and how those work. So first off, an amortized loan, we've got a $200,000 mortgage at 6%. Payment is $1,199.10. Our principal payment is broken down here. Principal is $199.10. Our interest is $1,000. Now, in that first month, 83% of your $1,199.10 went to interest. So that just to give you an example of how this mortgage works. 83% of your payment, every dollar going into this loan, is interest. So month 2, an amortization, it is amortized. It is mapped out from the beginning to the end. 360 months down the road, 30 years later, it knows exactly how much is principal and interest. Now, there is a way to beat this, and we're going to go over that. But month 2, you've got one more dollar going towards interest, or one less dollar going towards interest, and one more dollar going towards principal. 1 year into it, you've paid in $14,000. We've got $2,400 in equity. 5 years into this, we've paid almost $72,000 into it. We've got $13,000 in equity. $58,000 went to interest. 10 years into it, we've paid $143,000. We've got $32,000 in equity. Now this is the kicker year. We paid $302,000. We borrowed $200,000. We paid this loan off over 1.5 times. We still owe $99,000, almost $100,000, and we paid back $302,000. It's going to take us paying back $431,677 to pay this loan off in 30 years. That's going to be $231,000 in interest. So let's take a look at our amortization schedule. So this part here highlighted in green is the amortization schedule 1 through 6. Up here, if you can see my mouse, this is our $200,000 loan at 6%. Still payments, 360 months. Payment is still $1,199.10. Here we've got our principal and interest payments broken out. Our principal is $199.10, and our interest is the $1,000 right next to it over here on the interest column. Our next monthly principal payment is $200.10. Our next interest payment is $999. What if we took that extra $200 in month 2 and paid it in month 1? What would that do? Well, let's take a look at the amortization schedule and ask it, see what happens. We put that $200.10 on our first month's payment, and we save $999 1 month, and we have 359 months left to go. So let's do that. Let's look at this a little bit different. What if we took the next 2 months of principal payments? What would that do to our interest? Well, if we took the 210 plus the 201, we would end up with 401. Well, look at our interest payments. We have $999, $1,998 for a total of $1,997. So if we took $401 and prepaid that principal payment, it saves us $1,997. 2 payments are gone, and we've got 358 months left to go. So what if we took the next 5 months of principal payments, and what would that do to the next 5 months of interest payments? Well, let's kind of go through that with you. So we've got, in essence, what we're saying is, what if we take and add up all of the next 5 months of principal payments plus our current month, so an extra $1,010.54, what's it going to do? Well, it's going to slash all of these interest payments. So we're going to take and cancel $4,984.96 in interest. So the question is, would you invest 5 months of principal payments, $1,000, to save $5,000? Well, let's take a look at our amortization schedule, see how that works out. So here we are, we take and invest that $1,010.54, and we save $4,984.96. Well, now what if we went a little bit further? What if we did a little bit more than that? Well, what if we took our payment, plus we added an extra $5,000 and sent in $6,199, what would that do? Well, our original loan amount of $200,000 would drop down to $194. Our interest rate is still going to be at 6%. Our payment's still going to be $1199.10. But what's different is we're going to eliminate 23 payments, and we're going to now pay off our loan in 337 months. So we would save roughly $23,304 in interest. So here's our amortization schedule, dumping that $5,000 in, $23,303.96. We save 23 payments, eliminate 23 payments, and we're down to 337 months. The question is, where do you come up with the $5,000, right? So that's what we're going to get into with you. You can see how amortization works, and if we prepay, what happens. And look, if you have an amortization schedule that you have access to, you can run those numbers, and they are absolutely true. So let's take a look at how we would cancel this interest and how we would come up with that $5,000 to get you going. So we have right here a $200,000 mortgage, the same mortgage we've been talking about. But then our program uses either a home equity line of credit or a regular line of credit, a checking account, a savings account. But in this instance, we're going to go over a $15,000 home equity line of credit, and we're going to say that the interest rate on that line of credit is at 10%. And so what if we took and did a funds transfer? We borrowed from our first mortgage, or borrowed from our home equity line of credit, and we transferred $5,000 to our first mortgage. Well, we know what that's going to do. We just reviewed those numbers. It's going to save us $23,000 and eliminate 23 payments. Now, you might be saying, well, yeah, but I just borrowed from Peter to pay Paul, and I've still got, and what's even worse is I'm paying 10% over here, and I'm only at 6% on my mortgage. Well, that would be true. If that was the end of the story, it probably wouldn't be a good idea. We wouldn't be talking. But what if you took your paycheck and you deposited it against that balance? Well, that changes the picture completely, doesn't it? How does that? Well, interest is built on a balance. And if the balance is 0, 10% of 0 is still 0. So you're not going to pay any interest. But you might be saying, well, yeah, but now I got to live. I got to pay my bills. I can't just take my whole paycheck and dump it in there. Well, actually, you could, and I'll show you how. And let's kind of go through a budget of John or Rebecca Jones. So what we're going to do is this is their monthly living expense budget, $2,800.90. And their primary mortgage is that same mortgage, $1199.10, for a total of $4,000. So whenever we talk about $4,000 in living expenses, it's a combination of those two numbers. Their primary living expenses, this goes for gas, groceries, utilities, entertainment, and then this is their mortgage payment, okay? So now we've got our living expenses and our income, which gives us our discretionary income. Our discretionary income is leftover money that the program can use, and that the program is going to help John or Rebecca Jones get out of debt and build wealth with. So here we are in our 7-month example. We're going to go over 7 months. Our starting balance on our line of credit, $15,000 line of credit, 0 balance. We're going to pull out of our line of credit $4,000. Out of that $4,000, we're going to pay our first mortgage. We're going to have $2,800 to live on. And so we, as we have that $4,000, our balance is so low, the program says, hey, let's do a funds transfer. So it tells us to transfer $6,387.93 from our line of credit to our first mortgage. Now, this is where the program just starts to get exciting and where this concept just really starts to really make sense to you. So basically, our balance is now at $10,387.93, but our income comes in. What do we do with our income? We deposit it against our home equity line of credit. So now our balance is $5,387.93. We're going to pay $44.90. Now the bank isn't looking for an extra $44.90 because we deposited $5,000 against that line of credit. They're just going to simply increase our balance because we've already paid down $5,000 for that month. So our balance is going to go to $44.32. We don't have to make another $44 payment because that has already been taken care of, and then some, quite a bit more. So this funds transfer of $6,387 just canceled $29,215.98 on our mortgage and reduced our term by 29 months. Now, that might not seem like a whole lot, but let me show you where it is a whole lot. Remember our amortization schedule? Our payment was going up by only $1 in principal, and our interest was only decreasing on the opposite end by $1 per month. So we did our funds transfer, so month 2 jumps up to $232 of principal, and our interest drops down to $969.06. That is a difference of $31.94. Now, here's the thing that you might not have paid attention to, you might not have saw, but our HELOC interest was $44.90. We jumped in principal $31.94 because of that funds transfer. Those funds crossing over and trading out, we're only paying a difference of $12.96 in interest because our first mortgage, so much more has gone towards principal and so much less towards interest. So now our balance is at $192,000, and we've got 330 months left to go. We just reduced our mortgage by 29 months. They're gone. They can't come back. And we've canceled $29,000 in interest. Now, we do have our balance left over on our home equity line of credit, so let's jump into month 2 and see where that takes us. So here we are in month 2. Our starting balance in month 2 is $54.32.83. We're going to pull out our expenses. That writes a check to the first mortgage. We just paid them $1199.10. We pull out $2,800.90 for food, gas, groceries, and utilities. Life is going on just like normal. The only difference is our income is always being invested exactly where it's going to do us the most good. And so basically what we're doing is we've deposited this income against our balance. Now our balance is down to $44.32. We're going to pay a little bit of interest that month, $36.94. Again, that payment is not an extra payment that we have to make. It simply gets tacked into the balance. So our balance jumps up to $44.69. We're going to roll that $44.69 into month 3. Our starting balance, $44.69. We're going to pull out our expenses. That makes our mortgage payment. Pull out our living expense budget as well. We're going to go through and deposit our income against that balance, bring our balance down to $34.69. We're going to pay a little bit of interest. We're going to pay $28.91, so it brings our balance up to $34.98. We're going to roll that balance into month 4. We're going to pull out our expenses. That makes our mortgage payment, pay our gas, groceries, and utilities, and our balance is now $74.98. Deposit our income. Our balance is down to $24.98.68. Our balance is so low, or getting low enough, that the program tells us to do what? I think you kind of know, getting ready to do a funds transfer. It tells us to transfer $4,231.62. Where? Well, we only got one mortgage in this scenario and one home equity line of credit, so it tells us to send it to the first mortgage. Brings our ending balance to $67.30. We're going to pay $56.09 in interest. It brings our balance to $67.86. But this funds transfer just canceled us another $16,450 in interest and reduced our mortgage by 17 months. I mean, that's just starting to get exciting. In the last 3 months, we've paid $129.90 in interest on our line of credit at 10%. But we just canceled $45,666.31 and reduced our mortgage by 46 months. Now let's jump into our amortization schedule. So this is where it starts to get exciting, why people start to look at their amortization schedule. Because when you know what's going to happen and you can predict what's going to happen, you can also find a strategy to beat that 30-year amortization black hole. So here we are, we were at 328, we're down to 310, it drops us down to 310, so we jumped in principal by $22.33. That might not seem like a big deal, but it is a big deal because it just saved us another $16,000 in interest and reduced our mortgage by 17 months. Now, 17 months of payments of $1,200 roughly are gone. They can never come back. So we're at $45,000 in total interest cancellation and reduced our mortgage by 46 months. Now here we are in our line of credit. We roll that balance back in, so $67.86, pull out our expenses. Our balance is now $10,786. We're going to deposit our income, and our balance is $57.86. We're going to pay a little bit of interest that month, $48.22. We're going to roll that balance into month 6, and we're going to pull out our expenses. That's going to make our first mortgage payment, and that's going to also pull out our living expense budget. So everything's really just staying the same. We deposit our income, it brings our balance to $48.34. We're going to pay a little bit of interest. It jumps our balance up to $48.74.90. And we're going to roll that into month 7. So here we are with our balance at $48.74.90 in month 7. We're going to pull out our expenses. That makes our first mortgage payment. And now more of our payment is going towards principal and less towards interest. So every payment we make from now on, more is principal, less is interest. Our balance is $88.74. We're going to deposit our income. Our ending balance is $38.74.90. Our balance is getting low enough, but guess what? Yeah, the program says, hey, let's do another funds transfer. So it tells us to transfer $3,911.04. Well, what if, I know we're making this look good on the screen, but what if we spent more that month? Well, the program is going to maybe shrink our funds transfer. What if we spent a lot more this month? Well, it might move this funds transfer out, and our dashboard would change and tell us, hey, you know, instead of paying off in 9.9 years, we're going to pay off in 10.2 or whatever. It depends on how much you overspent. What if our income was a little bit less? Well, our funds transfer might shrink. What if it was a lot less? Well, it might move out a couple of months. What if our income was a lot more? Well, this funds transfer might grow a lot more. So the program works with you, cause and effect. It's seeing what you're doing based on the plan and adjusting the plan to fit whatever it is that you're doing. But let's say we stuck to this plan for in 7 months, and it's not that far out anyway. So we have $4,000 in expenses, and we had $5,000 in income. So the program says transfer $3,911.04. Well, it brings our ending balance to $77.85. We're going to pay $64.88 in interest. Brings our ending balance to $78.50. Well, that funds transfer just canceled us another $13,000 in interest, $13,486 in interest, and reduced our mortgage by 15 months. In the last 7 months, we've paid $320 in interest, but we've reduced our mortgage. We've canceled on our amortized loan $59,000 in interest and reduced our mortgage by 61 months. Now, I had a client who said, John, hey, back in the old days, my mortgage used to come with a coupon book. Are you telling me I could take 61 payments out of the back of the coupon book and throw them in the garbage can? Absolutely. That's exactly what we're telling you. Those payments can never come back because it is a closed-in loan. The only way they could come back is if they reverse those principal funds transfer payments that we've sent in. That's the only way. And in my experience, that really doesn't happen, and unless the borrower tried to call in and reverse them. But those cannot come back. What we've done has changed forever. Now we still have a balance on our line of credit, but our amortization schedule is now offset forever. We were at 309 months. We were dropping down to 308. Bam, here we are on month 7. The difference that just happened right here is the reason why it cannot come back. So basically, our principal payment just jumped $19.58. We only had $259 going to principal. Now we've got, in month 8, we're going to have $280 going to principal. So that funds transfer just saved us another $13,000 in interest and reduced our mortgage by another 15 months. We're just starting to win. We start to get excited. We see results happening almost immediately. In the last 8 months, our principal payment has grown by over $81.02. If you remember, on that first year, our principal payment was only supposed to be $210. So we're at $280. We've grown by $81.02. We just canceled $59,000 in interest and reduced our mortgage by 61 months. That's 61 payments of $1,200 that you can take and throw in the garbage can. They cannot come back. We've got 292 months to go, and our balance is $183,690, $796. So here's the worth account. Balance in 7 months, $183,000, starting out on a $200,000 mortgage. Our conventional loan, in 7 months, your balance is $198,585. Pretty big difference, huh? As a matter of fact, it's such a big difference, it takes you 5.7 years, 68 payments to catch up to the balance that we've made in 7 months, and there would still be a shortage of $125. So you've got 30 years to pay off on your conventional program and $231,000 in interest on 9.9 years with us, and only $67,000 in interest. So that's a savings of $164,000 in interest that we're going to save and knock off your loan and shave off all that time. So here's the dashboard. Here's a look at the worth account. We've got 9.9 years left to go. we've got $67,000 in interest remaining and $164,600 in potential interest savings. And our actual interest is zero. Now that's because we're just getting started. This is our starting dashboard. So in month one, this is what it looked like. Here's our funds transfer that we had scheduled to make of $6,387. Here we are 7 months into it. We've got 9.3 years, and we've got $60,424 in interest remaining, and we've still got the same potential, but we've actually saved $59,153.19 in interest so far. Here's our, in the following month, we've got another funds transfer coming up for $29.34. So if you're saying, well, yeah, but we still have a balance over there. Well, the whole cycle just keeps going. We're going to pay this thing off in 9.3 years. So let's talk about strategic debt payoff. So we've kind of gone over, well, what if I just have a mortgage and just get a home equity line of credit? Well, that's what it would look like. Well, what if we have something that looks a little bit more like this? Well, in that situation, where you've got, 5 or 6 different accounts, well, the program is going to target and pull in those debts into the line of credit. So instead of sending a funds transfer just to the mortgage, it might send it to, the auto loan or the four-wheeler loan or any of your auto loans or different credit card loans or whatever. It's going to incorporate all your debt and look at everything strategically and pay it off as fast as possible. So what is it doing? Well, it's looking at the amount owed, the length of the debt, the interest rate, the calculation of payment, so what the next monthly payment is, and adjusting rates. It can use a home equity line, a personal line, a commercial line, a secured line of credit, or just a checking and savings account. So now what we want to do is just kind of review the cash flow of what's going on. So here we've got our cash flow, our income coming into our checking account. We set up a minimum reserve in that checking account. So this is the cash flow that we just went over on a line of credit. So we set up that minimum reserve in that checking account, whether it's $50 or $5,000, it doesn't matter. Anything above that line of credit flows over, anything above that minimum reserve in the checking account flows into the line of credit. We deposit our income again, everything flows over to that line of credit. We're paying down that balance. Once we get to that optimal transfer point, guess what happens? We do a funds transfer. Well, the program tells us which account to send it to, how much to send, and the date to send it on. Well, it's telling us to send it to our motorcycle. Well, guess what? 1 or 2 more payments to that motorcycle, and what? Yeah, it's paid off. Well, guess what happens to our funds transfers? They start to get bigger. They start to happen more frequently. We start winning. We're getting ahead. This becomes exciting, and we can see it all happening. Here's the cash flow in our checking and savings account. We set up a minimum reserve in our checking just like before. We set up a minimum reserve in our checking and savings. Our income comes into our checking account. Anything above the high reserve flows over to our savings account. Instead of paying down a balance, we're now building up a balance. So a little more income comes in, transfers over to our savings. We hit that optimal transfer point. Bam, it tells us to do a funds transfer. It tells us where to send it, how much to send, the date to send it on, and now it's saying to pay off that auto loan. Well, guess what? 1 or 2 more transfers to that auto loan, and it's what? Yeah, it's paid off. Gone. Guess what happens to our funds transfers? They get bigger. They happen more frequently. We start winning. It's just putting your finances on autopilot. It's putting them on a video game that you're winning that's geared to get you to win. So next is wealth accumulation, and we're running out of time. So I got to kind of wrap this up a little bit as quick as possible and to turn some time over to Coach Young. But what I want to go through is, and I don't have a whole lot of time to do this, So what I want to do is just kind of go through a quick analysis real quick. This is a $350,000 mortgage at 4.5%. They're rounding up their payments and sending an extra $41.60 with a mouse over it, and $42 rounded up. $44 on this loan. They're rounding this one up by 35 cents. So we're sending in a $243 extra, but they're sending it in all this way. They've got income of roughly $12,200, $6,500 from Rebecca and $57 from John. And we've got our monthly expenses. We've got basically $1,000 in discretionary income. But the program's going to take that extra $243 and reallocate it, because what they're doing may not be the best situation for them. So here's our checking account. We've got $2,000 in that, and we've got $10,000 in our primary savings account. The emergency fund is set up at $12,000, so that means we're not going to touch any of that money. It's as though it doesn't exist. The next thing is John's 38 years old, and they want to get out of debt by the time they're 60. So here we are. We're going to look at the report really quick here. So basically, we're going to pay off in 8.6 years. But what I wanted to talk about, and we've reviewed these analyses before, but basically we're saving 21.3 years, and we're saving them $306,000 in interest. So just a really huge difference in a picture. But this is what I want to talk about. This is $1.63 million in wealth accumulation that the Worth account can help you to build. Now that is, at the same time, they would have just paid off a 30-year mortgage. Now, that 1.63 is just a placeholder for what you can do to convert debt into wealth. Now, that $1.6 million is at a 1% savings account. Now, the difference between 1.6 and 0% and 1% is probably like $30,000 less. So who gives a crap about having a 1% interest rate? It's not doing much for us. It's very little. It might be a little bit, it's about maybe $100,000 or less. So anyways, it's not a big number in there. But what I wanted to help you to understand is that potential of converting that debt into wealth. And by sitting on all of that debt for 30 years and just spending your money on whatever, you're missing out on your retirement. You're missing out on your life. And so that is what the Worth account has the potential to do. Now, I want to show one other thing. I was showing it running on a home equity line of credit. I showed you the cash flow running to checking and savings. This is the last thing I wanted to show you. This is how easy it is to switch between checking and savings and a line of credit. You even see the time to pay off is only a couple of months here. It's 0.2 in years. And you've got, we're saving up about $5,100, or they've got $5,100, and there's our next funds transfer. But this is how much of a difference it makes. So if your HELOC froze, you just simply push a button, you keep going. If you were on checking and savings and you want to go to the HELOC method, you push a button and it changes your expenses over, and everything just keeps rolling like normal. Well, let's kind of go through and take a look at, now what we want to do is jump into compensation. So I'm going to go ahead and turn some time over to Mr. Coach Young. Coach?